Zdaj pa imamo čas, da zavrtamo malo globlje v te teme. Jaz pa moram prešaltati nazaj na angleščino. Jeremy, when I was listening to your talk about artificial intelligence, I was wondering how many events do we have until there is a robot doing my job much better than I am?
Well, actually, that's not. That will be probably if that happens at all, it will be at the very end of it, really. If you're talking about AI taking people's jobs, AI is there to. What it will do, I believe, is to remove the danger and the drudgery, the boringness, the repetitiveness of our jobs in general. It's the creative aspect of our working lives. You're here, you're presenting, you're thinking on the fly, you're asking questions, reacting.
So
there's a human element. The human element is difficult to recreate.
What is this human advantage that we have over robots? They can do so many things better than we can. I have just read an article about them making a better diagnosis on some illnesses. What do humans do better than robots?
Well, that's crunching data. You know, there's analysis in the University of Adelaide where they had visual recognition looking at the X-ray of patients' chests, and it was able to work out which of those patients would die within 5 years, and it got a 67% accuracy rate, which doesn't sound very high, but that's exactly the same accuracy rate as a human doctor, and it's only going to get better. But if you're talking about things like, art, music, culture, those sorts of things, if you've heard these examples of AIs trying to make music or paint or be creative in writing, they are, if you look at them, they're really, on the whole, dreadful, absolutely awful. And for example, they're already using, as a journalist, they're already using AIs to write sports reports. Associated Press are using AIs to write local sports fixtures. And they're correct, and they have all the information you need in there, and it makes sense, but they're really boring to read.
Okay. You would know, you're the editor. Would you hire a robot to write your articles?
Well, I mean, what I would do is I would use these. I use these devices already in my work. Google and other people are working on speech recognition, as I'm here to do my transcribing for me. And I'm using these regularly because transcribing is a really boring, drudgery, repetitive part of my job, and if a computer can do that for me accurately, that's going to free me up to do all the other things that I want to do. And I'm already using that and seeing that getting better and better every 6 months.
So let's stick to our creativity and our those personal traits that make us different and diverse.
That's right. Yeah, they call it the God particle. I mean, this idea of what makes humans special. And a lot of people call up that example from the DeepMind playing Go. That very complicated version of chess in China, and the AI came up with this 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 15,000 maneuver, which the human opponent had never seen before. This is amazing, I'd never seen this before. And he described it as beautiful, actually, and went on, the AI went on to win the match. But what's reported less is that 2 matches later, the human player came up with a move that was equally as unlikely, and beat the computer. So it wasn't this demonstration of how the AI is now so much better than humans. It's the humans have a tremendous capacity to think outside the box and be creative, and that's exactly what happened in that demonstration as well.
Thank you. Artificial intelligence and big data. How do these two concepts interact?
Well, as I tried to describe, I think the big data is the fuel for artificial intelligence, or data sets itself, if they are alone or single, don't really have a value. The value comes when you have masses of data, when you can find these recurring patterns that maybe human is not able to find, but machines or algorithms are able to find. That's the connection. And now we have the capability from a processing power, from the algorithms, and we have the capability from capturing the data, storing the data, and managing it.
Let's go more into our everyday lives. How does this threaten my privacy as a person? Many more data recognition technologies, machine learning, data everywhere. How does that violate my privacy, and what do I need to know to protect it?
Well, I mean, I find that if you talk to humans about what they want to do with their privacy, they'll tell you one thing and then do something completely different.
Okay.
So how many people here have got a banking application on their phone to which they have to, or a money transfer application, which you have to give it your banking details? If you ask someone on the street and say, would you give a third-party company your access to your bank account with your passwords? They'd say no. Then you give them the app and say, this will allow you to send money anywhere in the world with just a click of a button. They go, oh yeah, I'll sign me up. What people do and what people say they will do are radically different. Mm-hmm. And the idea of, if you make technology that makes people's lives easier and better, then people will generally go for it. Mm-hmm. Now, there are, statutes that are coming out, the GDPR in the UK, of course, across Europe, where we are leading the field in trying to protect people against against companies and what they will use with their data. But Wired has an optimistic point of view. As a media channel, we are optimistic about what companies want to do and what we want to do and how we move forward. Most companies want to use data and their customers' data for the greater good, to provide better service, to actually do better things for them. I don't personally feel particularly worried about my personal data. I choose where I reveal it and I choose where I hide it. But this is the world that we live in now. If you want to completely safeguard your data, then you shouldn't really be online in any form at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. A very strange scenario these days. GDPR, when you mentioned it, I was immediately thinking, Dirk, you are following so many different customers. What did you notice when GDPR went into practice? How did this affect the view they have on data in general?
I think GDPR was only a catalyst for the view our customers have on data. They were clear that data is an asset. They are clear that with the data comes a responsibility. I mean, we have seen already years back that data loss of companies, customer data loss, led to a massive downturn in their business, led to CEOs having to quit their job. So GDPR, again, was, from our perspective, only a catalyst. It was already there. But GDPR obviously put it to a next level, where now there's, all of a sudden, there are high amounts of money you have to pay if you don't comply to GDPR. And therefore, I think the customers who took it on a positive note used GDPR now to go through their data, to build out a clear strategy what to do with the data, and then gain additional benefit. Because if you have a good view on your customer, you can do better business with it. And of course, you need to know where your customer data resides. If you don't have a clue where it resides, how you are able then to delete it, which is one of the core parts of GDPR. Okay. But I think it comes along, with this notion of responsibilities companies have for their customer data, but it's also a responsibility each and every one of us has with the data. Because as it becomes an asset, we can start asking for something back if we share our data. So for example, the other day I picked up a new car, and the car manufacturer wanted me to sign a paper where basically I give up any rights on the data that they collect from the car that, by the way, I bought.
Did you read the whole thing?
No, I only read the preview, and I said, I'm not going to sign it. So I said, oh, you don't sign it. And then I got a cup of coffee, and then I went to the car, and then they said, oh, you didn't sign the paper. I said, yeah, I don't want to give you my data unless I get something back. And then they said, oh, they didn't tell you if you don't sign it, you don't get the actual